A is 1 in PSL. Um, Continuing, this is video number 2 on the New York Mets. Being a fan in South Florida, um, spring training home of the New York Mets, Port St. Lucie, Florida. Some of my other videos, I encourage you to move to my town. I show you the sights. As I drive by, going to appointments and going to different locations. I try to give you a down-to-earth view that I didn't have quite a few years ago when I was thinking about moving to this town. So I'm providing a service I wish I would have had um, for those of you that are not local. Those of you that are local, hopefully you're a New York Mets fan like I am, and my videos will relate with you. And also, I do make videos on being retired from up north and coming down to work in Florida. The transition, the requirements, the day-to-day stuff maybe. I'm not gonna, specify any instances or things. Only the guys that work with me would know what I'm talking about when I may stumble onto a case. But for the most part, I am trying to stay away from names and, any specifics, but still give you the experience of what it was to be a cop in the early 80s in New York. My title is Bronx Cop 1982 because I really liked working in the Bronx, but technically I was a citywide anti-crime officer also. I worked all the boroughs at times. It's just that if I had a choice in the matter and if we had enough manpower, I would pick my hand in the Bronx. And there were other guys that liked Brooklyn, and then a few guys might have liked Queens. So we had enough coverage as far as anti-crime. So even though I was citywide, I picked Bronx as many chances as I could get. Also, if the unit dissolved or merged or something happened, I would try to pick another anti-crime unit that turned out of the Bronx for as far as commuting from upstate. And, that's where I was raised and lived for quite a few years. So back to my New York Mets thing is great. I haven't checked in the last 2 hours. It's about 67 degrees on the 5th of January. So I am trying to check YouTube and news sources as much as possible. I get the New York Post and the Times and the Washington Post, and I get quite a few feeds on my phone to try to keep me up to date. And I'm hoping as a Met fan, we start getting some exciting guys that are gonna make our team, better. Thinking Bo Bichette, Suarez, Alcantara. I did hear Cabrera. He wouldn't have been my first choice. Alcantara would have been my first choice, but some of the people I did listen to on the New York Mets podcast and stuff like that, they thought he was good enough to anchor our team. I think we need a first-rate starter like a Tarek Skubal. I'm just afraid of what we're going to give unless he signs, a long-term contract. I'm afraid what other teams have gone through where they had they gave up 4 or 5 guys for like a Juan Soto or something like that, and then he ended up leaving anyway, or he went to the Yankees before he went to the Padres. So after the Nationals, so I'm glad he's locked up long term. You don't have to worry about him going anywhere unless he opts out or whatever clauses he has in his contract that I don't know. Die-hard New York Mets fan, been a Mets fan for a long time. I thought we should have had a better chance at the third baseman. That they just got signed by, I think it was Houston. or Toronto, the Japanese third baseman. We also lost out on Maya. I thought we were going to get a Maya, because these guys weren't trades. These guys were just flat out, free agent contracts. And under this new ownership, we don't have to fear free agent contracts anymore. He doesn't care. He wants to put a winning team on the table. That's good news. Before, we had these owners that were scared, and you could understand why they didn't go. They let Tom Seaver leave town. Think about that. They left Strawberry and Gooden leave town. They left Jeff Kent leave town. And then our guy in 2015? He went to Colorado. They let him leave town. The second baseman that pretty much won single-handedly, put us in the playoffs and then kept us in the playoffs for a little bit. He didn't have enough help, but at least he made it exciting. And we let a lot of good players leave town because then the other teams were willing to pay him what we didn't pay him. So now we have an owner that seems to, be a Mets fan on top of being a business owner. And, I didn't mind losing Alonso. I didn't mind losing Diaz. I didn't mind losing Nimmo, even though of all the three, I probably miss him the most for his energy and his dedication. And as far as I know, he didn't leave and back talk bad about the Mets clubhouse and this and that, how they got all those millions of dollars, but yet they were suffering in the clubhouse. And then on my previous video, I gave you an example how I feel about the WBC. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with multimillionaires playing in it. So if you want to hear that one and get a kick out of it, because I really let those multimillionaires have it. I really think there's a big problem with them playing in the major leagues and then playing in the WBC. It's supposed to be amateur. It started out being amateur in college, and I mentioned previously I understood it when we got mad when the Russians and the Cubans put their professionals to beat up on our college kids in both boxing and baseball, and because they don't have a so-called professional league, so I understood it. But that was, we went there, and the NBA used to win games by 60 points, 40 to 60 points. So I get all that, but that was 20-something years ago. I think it should go back. It should have went back 20-something years ago. It should go back to amateur baseball. You can have your occasional major leaguer in there if he doesn't have a lot of time, a year or two max, not making multi-millions though. If he's making multi-millions, I would still want him out of the games. For the main reason is that, he's taking up a spot of some young guy. Some young guy could be, this is his chance to be seen, to play, to impress the scouts or impress his organization that's thinking about signing him or never had a clue about signing him. And all of a sudden he goes and has a good WBC, something like this wasn't WBC, but remember when Rosarena took over the world in the playoffs? He had a great end of season and a great playoffs. Because for the Devil Rays in Tampa, he had and he came on the map. And then whether you could say his name or not, he was in the discussion. This guy lit it up. And there has been other rookies that have done the same thing. Julio Rodriguez, that came on the league unknown. And well, at least unknown to me. He might have been known to a lot of people, but I'm just saying, some of these guys, they turned it on in their rookie season and showed that they deserve to play in Major League Baseball. I feel the same should be done today. Let these guys play, and just give them a chance. Multi-millionaires, baseball players can still donate food and resources to the country they say they're proud of, this country they were born. I think the only exception is I think Rosarena plays for Mexico because he married a Mexican and he's loyal to Mexico, and there must be a story there that we don't know. Maybe they made him a citizen after he left, you know, Cuba or wherever he left. I think it was Cuba. But the point is, just about everybody in this WBC claims loyalty to their country, which is fine. It's fine. But you're a multi-millionaire. You shouldn't be facing kids. And the multi-millionaire MLB player should not be clogging up these lineups. You should be in the stands praising your fellow countrymen and backing them up by making sure you donate at least $1 million per MLB player on each team. Make the WBC more than just multi-millionaires playing against each other when they're going to play in Major League Baseball anyway against each other. And then I also mentioned before, if you get hurt in the WBC, you just cost your team a player. You're getting paid, but you just cost your team a player. So if you're a good player like an Edwin Diaz that got hurt, we lost him for the whole year. So how is that fair to the fan? We're waiting to see you here. We're all proud of our country, wherever you came from. We're all proud of it. This is not that. This is support the guys that are not making multi-million dollars yet. Give them a chance. So this is part 2 video. I hope you like and subscribe. Like I said, I'm a diehard Mets fan, 50 years or more. Yeah, definitely more than 50 years. I live in Port St. Lucie, so I'm going to try to catch a couple of spring training games. It does get busy down here. We get a lot of out-of-town tourists, which is okay. Picks up the economy. The businesses depend on it. So I'm okay. If I go to a couple of games, that'll be fine. Last year, I don't think I went to any games. The year before that, I went to a couple. So I'm still a fan. I'm still going to watch it on TV, MLB channel, whatever channel is showing it that I can get here out of my 300 channels. So I'm a supporter. I'm hoping they have an exciting rest of the 26 to get ready for spring training 26, spring training of 2026. And let's go Mets. Give me something to cheer about. Like the year before, first round of the playoffs. I'm not a big believer in the first round of the playoffs, but the Mets have been out of the playoffs so long, we have to take it and say, well, we're happy we made the playoffs, even though it was the last wild card, and you get kicked out of the first round. Did we get kicked out of the first round? It was either the first round or the second round. It wasn't substantial like the couple of years before when you played the Dodgers in the World Series. Dodgers keep improving, so I don't see why the Mets should. If they're gonna rely on Beatty and Vientos and Acuna and Mauricio, I think they're gonna have to step up. I mean, Mauricio lost the whole year due to injury. Acuna, I think, might have been hurt a little bit, but I think after a couple of years of Major League Baseball, they should be stepping into, a year where they're going to make us proud as Mets fans. You save all the organization a lot of money. Because really, I would want Suarez playing third, if not Bregman. I don't want every star that's out there, but the Dodgers don't have no problem getting as many stars as possible. So I'm not going to deny me that fantasy. We get a Bo Bichette and Suarez, and I really like a Cody Bellinger this year. I would like him to be on the Mets. I still think we're 2 quality pitchers away: a Terry Skubal, Alcantara, Cabrera. Um, they seem to like the guy, I think Michael King, but I think he just signed long term or a couple of years with San Diego, so that's out of the question. They like the Mitch Miller as the reliever. So let's get some of these exciting guys on our team that give us a chance to win. You know, give us a chance to win. Otherwise, if you just get a Skubal, as much as he's going to cost you, and then the teams come in knowing all they have to do is beat you 2 out of 3. You know, they might not beat you with Skubals on the mound, you know, and even him, he's going to have a bad game here and there. So you have to have other pitches that the teams go, you know, I'm hoping the Mets win 2 out of 3 because the other teams have to hesitate and go, they got a couple of good frontline starters. Back in the days of, you know, Kuzman and Matlock and Tom Seaver and, you know, Gary Gentry, and there was a couple other names there that, you know, they gave you a fighting chance. They weren't all top of the line starters, except for Seaver, but they all gave you a good day's work. And at this point, all you want to do is keep the Mets in the ball game, so then they can. They showed good the last couple of years. I think the last 2 years, they show good rallies against relievers. You know, one pitcher might be holding them, you know, to a shutout for 6 or 7 innings. Then he gets out, and some reliever comes in, and then the Mets get 6 or 7 runs. Those are exciting games. They're boring in the beginning because we're losing. As a fan, you sit there going, "Oh well, one of those days." But then that reliever comes in and he's not ready because he pitched too much or he just doesn't have it today. Because not all ball players are going to have it every day. We understand that. As a fan, you understand that. That's why 300 is considered, batting average is considered great. That's 3 times out of 10 they got a hit. 3 times. You know, so you don't go to the free throw line and shoot 3 out of 10. You know, except for like maybe a Shaq or something like that. But he's so dominating everywhere else that you overlook that. But I am getting closer to the house, so I appreciate you subscribing, like and subscribe, please. Pass it around to other Met fans, and I'll hopefully be making more videos as we get closer to spring training. I'll probably make a video every time I hear a ball player sign, but you know, I made also do my traveling videos here, driving around town, trying to show you my town, how nice it is, how good it is, how it's growing, how it supports employment, how it supports retirement, and you know, all the business that's around. So like and subscribe. This is Juan in PSL. I'll talk to you again.